What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Falcons Today. Coming up on our show, we're going to get some takeaways and news and notes and nuggets, all that good stuff from Minicamp. Plus, we even have some tryouts underway, so we will fill you guys in on that front. And then we're going to wrap up the show by looking at some renderings of some upgrades coming to Flowery Branch. But day one takeaways from Minicamp in the books, and let's check it out, starting with Bijan Robinson. You can't miss him. He is everywhere. This is clearly Arthur Smith's favorite toy, favorite weapon at his disposal. He is using Bijan Robinson at every possible position. Don't be shocked if we even see Bijan Robinson line up on defense this upcoming season. But Josh Kendall did tweet out this on the offense, saying, Desmond Ridder looks sharp in early 7-on-7 work, with Bijan Robinson getting a lot of slot snaps. We've talked about Bijan potentially being used in the slot to get Tyler Algier and him on the field at the same time. But two things for you guys. Number one, be nice to Desmond Ridder. Be nice to Desmond Ridder. Doing great stuff so far in 7-on-7. It's good to see from Desmond. Number two, I think Bijan Robinson could have a Christian McCaffrey role in this offense, similar to what he did in Carolina, and then, of course, now in San Francisco, where he is a jack of all trades. You can line him up anywhere you want. It's flag football for him. He's that talented, he's that skilled, that athletic, and we might see a good dosage of Bijan in the slot to get another running back on the field, to get your five best skilled players on the field at once, right? Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Cordarrelle Patterson, Mac Hollins, whoever that fifth player is. But Bijan is no stranger to receiving passes. He did a lot in Austin. 60 grabs, 805 yards, and 8 scores. A nice average, too, at 13.4. Like, those are the kinds of numbers you see from some of the deep threat players. For him to get 13.4 yards of reception as usually a check down option really showcases his skill set yards after the catch. Now, Michael Rothstein added this, by the way, from Minicamp. Falcons rookie Bijan Robinson among the players working on punt returns. Now, this is why they drafted Bijan Robinson top 10, because he does offer you that versatility, right? Where he's not just a run-of-the-mill running back with, sure, a good offensive line. He can eke out 1,000 yards, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Bijan has the ability to impact the game in so many ways. As a receiver, in special teams, and, of course, in the backfield. I'd probably want to pump the brakes a little bit on seeing Bijan Robinson on punts. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would definitely be fun. But if something were to happen to him on a special teams play, it'll be meltdown mode here at the channel. Now, more on this coming from Arthur Smith, who said, we do not have buyer's remorse if that's what you're asking on Bijan Robinson, because there is the stigma of you don't take a running back top 10 anymore. It's not the cool thing to do. No, I'll tell you what the not cool thing to do is. You don't pay a running back when they're towards their end of their, prime. That is what's uncool, right? That is when teams get pissed off and have to move on from bad contracts, like Zeke, like Dalvin Cook. Those players were great for their teams, though. The issue wasn't drafting them when they drafted them. It was paying them when they paid them. So if things are different for Bijan, awesome, right? If he lives up to a second contract, great. But I have no issue with taking a guy top 10 who's likely going to be this team's all-time franchise rushing leader. He is that special of a running back. So how excited are you to see Bijan Robinson on Sunday? Scale it 1 to 10. I'm at a 10. I think this kid is going to be magnificent. He is going to be a fan favorite. He is going to be a bright spot for this team as they sort of search for a new identity, as they leave the Matt Ryan era and they look for a new, heart and soul on offense. Bijan Robinson can be that player. Speaking of running backs, we're going to welcome back Cordarrelle Patterson to the show. We haven't talked about him too much so far this offseason. He missed some time with an injury last year, and we are anticipating his participation for the first time, which we have now. So Cordarrelle Patterson playing at Minicamp, being an active participant for what is just kind of glorified walkthroughs or non-contact drills. There's no pads, but it's still a good step in the right direction. Arthur Smith did say that CP84 will get some work in across the field, which is what he's done for the last half decade or so of his career, right? In the slot, in the backfield. And of course, as a kick returner and maybe punt returner following Avery Williams' ACL injury, CP84 has been one of the best kick returners the NFL has ever seen. He actually has done very little punt returns, though, so that would be a new element to his game. But versatility is key for Arthur Smith, right? He has to work with what he has. He doesn't have a Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen type quarterback, okay? That's all right. You can still make do with other skill set players and getting them in the best position possible and getting them the football and snaps. And that's what you're seeing with Bijan Robinson and Cordarrelle Patterson getting all across the field. Because ideally, you want your best players on the field at the same time. So if you happen to have 2, or in this case 3, really good running backs, sure, line them all up at some point, right? Don't substitute Tyler Algier because you want to get Scotty Miller sometime or you want to get Penny Hart on the field. No, get the best players on the field and figure out schematically how to get it done. And this is what we are seeing from Arthur Smith and this offense. Cordarrelle Patterson is a career wide receiver, great wide receiver, switched to running back when he came down to Atlanta essentially. But don't be shocked if Cordarrelle Patterson, who our brains have told us is a running back the last 3 years, might get some good runs at a wide receiver, especially for a room that's a little bit on the thinner side. So not going to be blown away if you see Patterson in the slot, 2 backs in the backfield, Kyle Pitts at tight end, and Drake London at the boundary. That is maximizing the talent you have on this team. Today's show is sponsored by NordVPN. NordVPN is striving to make the internet better than it is today. It can be free from online threats, censorship, and surveillance. Get your online security package now by visiting nordvpn.com/FalconsCS. Get 4 months for free by using that link in the description and comment section when you purchase the NordVPN 2-year plan. So this is what NordVPN brings you guys. Online protection with a single click. Plus, if you are away from your home, well, you can set yourself to your home and get all of your favorite content, along with staying safe from malware and the fastest VPN on the planet. So, with the fastest VPN on the planet, it is all with just one click away. Choose your location and click connect. NordVPN won't track you or share what you do online. Your data is always protected by next generation encryption. Get started now. Click the link in the description or comments. That's nordvpn.com/FalconsCS to get 4 months for free of NordVPN and a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you guys are looking to get the best VPN out there, NordVPN is the place to be. Once again, nordvpn.com/FalconsCS. That link's in the comments and the description of today's show. Takeaway number 3 from Minicamp, defensive line depth. So we're getting our first real taste-ish with everyone there at Mandatory Minicamp, what Ryan Nielsen's defensive front is going to look like. And team reporter Tori McElhaney tweeted out, Arthur Smith said he's, knock on wood, really pleased with the depth the Falcons have developed this offseason on defense. They've pumped a lot of resources and money into that side of the ball, he said, and you can feel it even in OTAs and now minicamp. And there have been a lot of improvements to this defensive line, right? Sure, you return Grady Jarrett and Taquan Graham, who is now healthy, and you bring back Eddie Goldman from the dead, but you added Calais Campbell and David Onyemata, 2 notable free agent acquisitions for Fontenot, right? A veteran like Campbell, who's always found the fountain of youth. He never seems to really let Father Time beat him. And then David Onyemata, a 3-year contract, who can hopefully pair with Grady Jarrett for the next couple of seasons and keep this run defensive line and overall front together. Now, David Onyemata did say this on the defensive line. This is still Grady's group, and you love to see that. Even as Onyemata comes over, he's a veteran, he's a leader in the locker room. He can understand that Grady Jarrett is the alpha. This is his defensive line. Honestly, you can make the argument this is his defense altogether. So these are just things you love to see. Now, as for the nickel spot, right, we have a battle brewing at that position because you knew they weren't just going to necessarily hand it over to Clark Phillips, the rookie out of Utah, without any contention whatsoever. It's the NFL. You get 90 guys in there, and you find the best 53. Here's what McElhaney said on the Falcons' defense. When the Falcons signed Mike Hughes to a 2-year deal this offseason, I prematurely assumed that it meant he was the nickel in Nielsen's defense without qualm or quarrel. But it would seem he has quite the competition brewing with D. Alford. Now, I want to prematurely pencil in Clark Phillips as the nickel just because, one, I was very high on him coming out of Salt Lake City, but D. Alford and Mike Hughes are definitely going to be competing with him for that nickel spot. If you see the Falcons defense run out some 4 nickel sets or 4 DBs on the field at once for, heavy wide receiver sets on offense, those could be the first 4 guys right there. But Terrell and Okuda are going to be your 2 boundary corners. And then Hughes, Alford, and Phillips are all competing for that CB3/nickel position based on how many DBs Nielsen tosses out on the field. Now, let me know about this. Will the Falcons have a top 10 defense in 2023? Top 10's tough, right? This team was very far from it last year, finished second to last in sacks in 2022, but they have made a lot of additions. And we spend so much time, or I spend so much time kind of losing sleep over the pass rush situation in Atlanta. They did add Jesse Bates, right? And they did add Jeff Okuda. Like, this secondary is going to hold up guys for a long time. That maybe you don't need a marquee defensive end to get after the quarterback, because the quarterback's going to have to hold on to the football for an extra second or two, looking for a player to get open. And now Calais Campbell and Grady Jarrett and Caden Ellis can get after him. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section. Now, 2023 is going to be here before you know it, as the season kicks off in September. So make sure to subscribe. Do not miss a single thing when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. No one has the YouTube coverage like we do during the offseason. We don't take our foot off the gas, and we put the pedal to the metal when the season kicks off. So make sure you are subscribed and don't miss a thing for your Dirty Birds. My 4th takeaway coming out of minicamp: Falcons missing in action. We have an injury update here, kind of filling you guys in on all the bugaboos and what's coming out of the trainer's office. Here's what McElhaney tweeted out. Arthur Smith said there are 4 players who won't be participating for minicamp this week. Avery Williams done for the season, likely with IR after the ACL injury. Kyle Pitts, Caleb Huntley, and Eddie Goldman. The Falcons will also have 7 tryout guys this week, including a few XFL guys. You could probably rule out Kyle Pitts returning anytime soon. Last week or earlier this week, Arthur Smith said, we plan on playing 19, 20 games into January, so we're not going to push ourselves in June. So definitely a no-go for minicamp this week. And honestly, if Kyle Pitts starts the season on the PUP list, do not be alarmed or starts training camp on the PUP list, rather. That is likely a very realistic option for Kyle Pitts. We'll have to see how he progresses throughout the month of July. But as for Eddie Goldman, well, he retired and now came back or whatever. Caleb Huntley coming back from an injury as well mid-season. So these guys are going to take their time coming back to the field, and Atlanta is in no rush to bring them back for minicamp or late July. Probably not until midway through training camp for a handful of those players. Now, like we were just talking about, though, there were some tryouts coming out. So some XFL players getting an opportunity to compete for a spot in the NFL. Here are the tryout players. If you recognize any of them, bravo to you. Bless Austin, a corner. A wide receiver, Chris Blair. Offensive lineman, DeMarcus Hayes. Defensive lineman, Albert Huggins. Tight end, Michael Jacobson. Defensive lineman, Cravion Patton. Kicker, Matthew Trickett. And that is player number 7. So there are some tryouts underway. I think this is going to be a 53-man roster that has more than one UDFA make it. I think there are going to be some grinders, some Gruden grinders, if you will, that find a way to crack this final 53-man roster. Before we get you guys on out of here, we have some pictures to look at from the new facility rendering, some updates, some modifications being made here. You can see a brand new players' locker room, the overall gym area getting improved as well, the weights and whatnot, and even outside practice facility improvement right there. It's always fun to see these pictures because you know they spend so much time putting together like little Sims characters to look realistic. Now, if you remember, the NFL Players Association earlier this offseason came out with rankings for all 32 teams, facilities, and whatnot. The Falcons were like 27th, if I remember correctly. So towards the bottom, and clearly Arthur Blank heard that loud and clear, got the checkbook out and said, make it happen. Do what needs to be done to improve our facilities, because sometimes it's an embarrassment, honestly, when college football programs have better facilities than the National Football League. And you can make the argument that majority of the SEC has better facilities than a handful of NFL programs. Like when the Raiders were in Oakland, Alabama would dunk on them. So that's the latest coming out of Flowery Branch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, taking time out of your day to come hang out with producer Rolly and I. We'll sign off and see everyone later.